DeBoer has some comments about some of the major moves that have happened recently, and Jimmy Stein's roster countdown rolls on.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is made possible by you. It is, because you have helped make Locked On the number one sports podcast network there is, and we appreciate you so very much. Jimmy, we're going to get into your roster countdown a little bit. And as somebody mentioned, you need to update that on the Discord page. And by the way, all you got to do is join the Everydayer Club to get on that Discord page. That's lockedonbama.com/everydayer club. It's $5 a month, $50 for a year. Can't beat that with a stick. So come on, get over there. But first of all, I thought we'd talk about some of DeBoer's comments from yesterday. He had, nothing like earth-shattering, but he talked a little bit about Coach Cap being, or at least everybody moving on from Coach Cap. I don't think he used the term fired or removed or anything like that. But I think he could have summed it up better by saying, did y'all see our offensive line last year?
He mentioned production. I mean, he was asked specifically by the media, why did you make that move? And he said production. Now, I do know or believe that right when the season ended, I think Coach Cap thought he was being retained. They obviously, it took DeBoer a while to reach this decision, which shows me that he put a lot of thought into it. I also think maybe portal losses could have factored in there, but he said specifically, and we should always listen to coaches when they say, people call it coach speak, but it's never false, what they say. And he said flat out, it was production, which means the line did not perform to the level that he expects or wants. And ultimately, that's why I made the change. I like the new guy coming in. I especially like that Adrian Klemm is showing up, Luke, at a time where so many of the linemen are showing up. I mean, there's a lot of new faces. That's an excellent time to have a new coach. I think when the new coach comes in and you have a lot of returning starters, they've already got their way of doing things is sort of baked in. And then the new guy shows up and wants to change things. And they're like, I don't want to change things. I kind of like how we were doing it before. And I don't like these changes. And hey, the last coach taught me to do it this way. You're teaching me to do it a different way. And I don't like this. When you've got all these new guys showing up, or there's young guys in the room like Alabama's got, it's an excellent time for a new coach too. I bet that was a factor to some extent with only one starter returning in Michael Carroll on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. And it's sort of like a fresh start for everybody. I mean, and we got a big time fresh start. I mean, a lot of new faces along that offensive line. I've seen some mixed comments from some of the folks who maybe are a part of the Locked On Network or message boards or whatever, talking about some of the guys that we have coming in, specifically the transfer from Texas, who some folks are like, I hope y'all can get something out of him. We couldn't, that kind of thing. But
what
maybe
bothers me about that? That guy was a true freshman last year playing a different position than he'd been practicing. And the Texas fans are like, this guy stinks. I'm like, a true freshman that was playing tackle throughout the spring and fall camp that you had to move to guard because of injuries. And he struggled as a true freshman. And now he stinks forever. I just and this was a highly recruited, highly rated kid out of high school. I refuse to believe that kid's future is already in stone. I bet he ends up being pretty good.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be an All-American. I'm just saying that I think it's good for him specifically to have a fresh face, to have a fresh start, a fresh everything. So I think it's a big deal. Now, one thing, not necessarily related to DeBoer's comments, but I wanted to talk about On3 came out with their early All-American list for next year, first and second team. There wasn't a Bama in sight. Now, you say, well, what's the big deal? When's the last time that happened? I mean,
it'd have to be like 2008 or something like that. I mean, it would have to been.
But even in 08, we had Andre Smith, right? Wasn't Andre Smith?
That's a good one. Yeah. Andre Smith was still on the team. So was Antoine Caldwell, who was an all-star type candidate. I don't know that he made All-American teams, but Andre Smith, that's a great point. It's been a long time. I'm not upset about it, but I do think it's more evidence. Alabama is being sort of criminally underrated at this point in terms of, for one thing, are there better cornerbacks than Zabian Brown? Are there really? Are there better pass rushers than Yanze Pierre? I think Alabama does have guys worthy of being on those teams. I think it's in vogue right now to put Alabama on the back burner list. I really don't know why, considering Alabama made the playoff field, won a playoff game, and advanced and lost to the national champs. I guess it's because the last view everyone had of Alabama was the second half of the Indiana game, which was truly bad. That was bad. We got whipped. But they also whipped Oregon, and you're not going to find Oregon absent from these lists. You know, they beat Oregon. They beat Oregon every bit as bad as they beat Alabama. But I'm to me, Luke, it's just more like y'all are just all going to forget little old Alabama, aren't you?
Well, and the other thing that's just interesting, Mississippi State has a first-teamer in Kelly Jones. Auburn has a first-teamer in Xavier Atkins. And it's hard for me to dispute those. I think both of those are very good players. Julian Sayin is the second-team quarterback. Okay, I don't know about that. But I'm trying to find some other names.
Was Dante Moore? Dante Moore was the first-team quarterback?
Wait a minute. Let me make sure. It was Trinidad Chambliss. Now, he hadn't even won his –
No, I'm sure he is, and I don't think that's a bad. So Trinidad Chambliss and Julian Sayin ahead of Dante Moore and Arch, who I would have up there pretty high myself.
I'm fine ahead of Arch. I'm fine with that. But then they have this one hurts a little bit. Jacarius Peak as a second teamer, Dylan Stewart as a second teamer. They have a guy named Anthony Smith at Minnesota. You know, when Alabama doesn't have anybody, that's interesting. Robert Fitzgerald at safety when Alabama doesn't have anybody.
Yeah, Bray Hubbard. Bray Hubbard should be on these lists. You know, to say nothing of, like I said, Zabian and Yanze came to mind quickly for me, but I don't even think it's crazy to have Dijon Lee on these lists, really. But Bray Hubbard should certainly be on there. So should Zabian, and so should Yanze Pierre. I think it's just more like everyone just decided that Alabama was done. I don't see it that way at all, but I do think this is just more evidence of, boy, Alabama's got a lot to prove on the field this fall. I don't want to hear any talking. I just want to see the team play really well consistently. They'll have that opportunity soonish. Oh, mute. Man, that's 3 days in a row.
Dang it.
I know. You're in a mute slump.
I'm in a mute slump. Oh, good. Tell you who's not in a slump. This is not doing anything, but Brandon Miller's on a tear with the Charlotte Hornets. On a tear. And they're kicking chicken right now. Now, they still got a losing record, but they are Brandon Miller's been hurt for like 18 games. LaMelo Ball's been out for like 10 games. But anyway, I'm with you on the talking stuff. This year, don't give me any of this. All disrespect will be dealt with until you deal with it.
My least favorite quote of 2025, honestly. I mean, in terms of, it's bad. It was bad enough just when Florida State, whipped Alabama right from. That's why I don't want to hear any talking. I just want to see the team play well and play consistently well, and they're going to have to come out of the gate playing well because, again, a game I'm pointing at that I'm not worried about in the sense that I'm like, boy, watch out for a loss here. But I think the Kentucky game in week 2 is going to be a challenge. I mean, I think that's going to be a legitimate challenge. I would say the same if Georgia or Texas or LSU was at Kentucky in week 2. I'd be saying, watch out, lace them up.
Well, not only that, Florida State schedule came out and they have a bye week before us. I mean, not that that's uncommon. That's every day, all the time. But it just,
that
just
early in the season, I don't know how much that matters. But
yeah,
so they play one game and then a bye week. No, they play week 0.
I think they play week 0 and then they play week 1 and then off 2 and then off 3 against us. Yeah,
gotcha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The WNBA has released its 2026 schedule featuring a 44-game regular season beginning on Friday, May 8th. The league's historic 30th season includes expansion teams Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, with opening weekend highlights such as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, and a rematch of the 2025 finals between the Aces and the Mercury. In college hoops, South Carolina handed Vanderbilt its first loss of the season with a dominant 103-74 win. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
I think she makes a good point. Now, here's the other thing.
Our girl, Ace Austin, I think she's finding herself, finding her game.
But yeah, I got to call her a lot with the HSA Radio Network. She's a problem for people. But by the way, people in the Discord and people in the comments, they really like this Mazda girl. So I'm not saying if you get a Mazda, you get girls like that. I'm just saying it couldn't hurt, right?
I had a Mazda. I would say my results were inconsistent at best when I was.
Mazda can't do everything.
Exactly. There's only so much. That should be the new motto. The Mazda. There's only so much we can do, Jimmy.
That can't do everything. I think I've told this story before. One day, my dad was at Willow Point. I think it was Willow Point, and a guy started choking on a steak he was having, and like he was turning blue and all that. Dad went and gave him the Heimlich. Of course, the meat goes flying. He saves the guy's life. He would have died if Dad hadn't been there. All this stuff. The next week, or within the next week, I think his wife shot him, killed him, and Dad was like, "I can't be everywhere," So, just another little humorous woman kills man story.
Hilarious, another hilarious domestic violence story.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about 5 impact transfers. This is courtesy of BOL, and the 5 they list, and there's not one I would change. Terrence Green, who comes over from Oregon, I think he might be the most impactful transfer.
Could be immediate starter. I'm kind of counting on him being the immediate nose guard, and so big in this way too, Luke. I think he could emerge as the starting nose guard, replacing Keenan, which kicks London Simmons out to James Smith's spot, where I think he could be really effective and a heck of a player. So I think Terrence Green is sort of like a double hit there. He might improve us at nose guard and at defensive tackle.
Yeah, and he's 6'5", 330, so pretty big for a potential nose guard. Noah Rogers from NC State. I'm hoping that the lineup goes Ryan Williams, Lazier Brooks, and then Noah Rogers. That's what I'm thinking it'll be. If it's any different than that, Noah Rogers has given us a lot more than we thought, or one of those other two is disappointed.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Noah Rogers is probably, he's the guy I would bet on is the day one or game one starter against East Carolina. I think it'll be Ryan and Noah Rogers outside, Lazier Brooks in the slot. I think that's your starting lineup game one. Now, I do think Sadarian Morgan, Derek Meadows, and Rico Scott will all play significant snaps and rotate in. But I agree. I think Noah Rogers is top 3.
Boy, I shouldn't have left out Sadarian Morgan. I kind of hope he's 3. I love me some Sadarian.
We'll see what happens over the course of the season. I do think one thing in Sadarian's favor here, Luke, is Noah's not a small receiver. He's not a little guy. But Ryan, as we know, isn't big. Lazier Brooks is a short slot guy. They sort of need some size, I think, as the third guy. And I think Morgan would be a great fit. I also think Morgan's game is similar to Isaiah Horton. And if Horton had stuck around, he'd clearly be the third guy. And I think Sadarian Morgan's game is a lot like Isaiah Horton's in terms of what he brings to the table.
We won't go over Caleb Woodson too much, even though he's on this list, just because we've talked about him a ton. Javen James and Devin Tompkins round out the impact transfers list. Again, two guys, one on the offense, one on the defensive line. And I think both of these guys are going to make some nice impacts.
Yeah, Devin Tompkins I see as the starter at Bandit. And I think if I'm wrong, he may be the starter in that London Simmons spot, that James Smith spot. But I think he can play both. But I think the need is for him to be at Bandit, and he's going to be, I think, very good in that role. Javen James is more, that's real curious to me. He's the starting left tackle at Mississippi State. So he started 12 games at that position that he will play at Alabama. But he's going to have to fend off Jackson Lloyd and Ty Haywood to be the starting left tackle at Alabama. He didn't have to beat out guys like that at Mississippi State. I see this as a real battle. I'm hesitant to even say what I think is going to happen there. I think we have to go through spring first and find out. It's going to be a real battle at left tackle, which is good for the team. Whoever emerges is probably a pretty good player.
Yeah, and the old adage, iron sharpens iron, is true. The problem is because of the transfer portal, a lot of the iron hadn't been hanging around. So, it may sharpen one side of the iron and then the other side leaves. But because of the way the transfer portal is set up now, I think that this is much better for everybody because they come in, they can get better, they can actually try and develop without moving around all over the place. We want to do your roster countdown in the third segment, so we'll bring up Qayden Samuels right now. This is the basketball commitment Alabama got yesterday. He's listed as high as the 18th player in the country, super scorer. I mean, big-time scorer. And I think he's going to put up a lot of points in this offense. It actually came out, his mom said he signed with Alabama in the early period, just nobody announced it. I don't know what the reason for that was, and that's great. Look, it gives us Terrace Bowie for next year, who's a top 60 player. Qayden Samuels, a top 20 player. And then, good Lord willing and the creek don't rise, we'll get Caleb Holt, who's the number 3 player in the country. And if you get those 3 guys, I mean, Duke will have a better class, but there won't be many better classes.
No, that would be just unbelievable. But Qayden Samuels alone, such a big deal. This is, to me, the quintessential thing about Nate Oates here is prior to Nate Oates, Alabama landing a player like Qayden Samuels from the Northeast United States, ranked where he is, would have been an earthquake. Now it's a Wednesday. I mean, that's Nate Oates. I mean, that's what Nate Oates has done for Alabama basketball, landing a top 20 player, top 20, that ain't from here, and having to beat out everybody in the country to get him. That's Nate Oates. It's a Nick Saban type thing. I mean, we were saying something similar about Saban early in 07, 08, 09, when Alabama, for an extended period of time, hadn't been a dominant program nationally, and Saban changed the recruiting overnight, and the results soon followed. Nate Oates has got both. He's been recruiting guys like this for a while, and the results have followed. Back-to-back Elite Eights, and first time in school history. It's because of signing kids like this.
Yeah, and it's a huge pickup. I think it moves Alabama into the top 10 already of recruiting rankings. And then, of course, I mean, you have to assume. I mean, I was thinking about the basketball team last night. Another side note. So last night, my daughter, who's become like a big basketball fan, my 9-year-old, because she has gotten into basketball pretty good herself, and she's a pretty good player. I mean, she's a third grader, and she plays on the 3rd and 4th grade teams, which is a big deal, and very proud of her. But she loves college basketball now, or NBA. She's a big Jalen Brunson fan. But Brunson. So last night she was like, "Dad, guess who my 3 favorite Alabama basketball players are?"
3 favorites. She's got 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, and of course, LeBaron Philon is one. Aiden Holloway is the second one, and then she said, "You'll never guess the third." And I said, she said Charles Bediako. And so Charles Bediako is already winning over some youngsters, and I'm already thinking about next year in terms of we're going to probably have a lot of turnover again. I'm assuming Aiden Holloway will be back. I'm 50-50 on Sherelle. I would love for Sherelle to come back. I don't know that his game really translates
If
to
he
NBA
goes
just
pro, he'll be making the exact same mistake that Charles
yet.
Bediako did.
Yeah. Hey, that's another reason having Charles Bediako here is great. Charles will say, dude, stick around another year, make you some money here, get a little better, get more
better.
publicity. Because right now, while Aiden Sherelle is playing great and he's hitting, man, he hit some nice threes the other night. LeBaron Philon is the story. And now Charles Bediako is the other story. So you're not going to get the notoriety you will if you come back next year. It is you and it's Aiden. And man, imagine if it's Aiden and Sherelle and Caleb Holt and Samuels and Bowie. Oh my God. I mean, we want some, I don't know if Taylor Bowen will be back. I don't know if, who are some other guys that could
if you enter the NBA.
Oh, London Jemison. Amari Allen. Allen may be gone though.
Yeah, the point about Sherelle is, look, don't enter the NBA while your game is still developing. If you show up at the NBA in need of further development, all you've done is commit to the G League.
That's
because
right.
They're not going to develop you in NBA basketball games. They're going to develop you in the G League, and I don't see why a player at a Power 4 elite program like Alabama would choose the G League right now. I think the money is probably even better, almost certainly better at Alabama than in the G League. And it's certainly a bigger deal as opposed to playing in empty gyms in games where people don't really care about the outcome and playing college basketball. So much more fun and so much more money. And they're developing you too.
And and people get to watch you. I mean, does anybody watch the G League ever?
I assume there's NBA scouts probably making up half the crowd. And, when they invented the G League, we didn't have all this NIL stuff. And I've heard some people say that, the G League is sort of dying a little bit because college basketball sort of created the G League because they weren't paying players. And now that they're paying college basketball players, college basketball is sort of killing the G League.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I mean, I could see the G League going away for sure. And I can see the NBA getting behind that. I think they should, but I don't know. We'll see. We're going to talk a little Rocket Money right now. If I can ever find my little thing. Did they not put a thing on here for Rocket Money? Did they not? Yeah, they did. I knew it would be my fault. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming between the subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? Not moi. That's where Rocket Money comes in. The personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow savings. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers like a sucker. I'm telling you, that's the worst. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Jimmy Stein. Still love those guys that I saw, I think, at the Oklahoma game. That was it, Oklahoma game or the Rose Bowl? I can't remember, or Auburn. It doesn't matter. But they made that shirt with that's a Jimmy Stein guarantee on it. That's brilliant. Wish I had thought of it. Patent pending. Roster countdown, Jimmy. Give it to us.
40, the 42nd player that I've ranked is Danny Lewis. This is a guy that could be much higher after the spring. He had a lost year. His redshirt junior year last year was really just a lost season. The injury was so significant. There was even talk he would miss the entire year. He basically did. He missed all of the spring, all of fall camp, and I think played some in 5 or 6 games. The moment the season was over, he had some surgery to try to.
There was talk he may never play again, actually.
Yeah.
You remember I met the father of another tight end who said, hey, man, I don't know that he's ever going to play again.
Yeah. And I obviously, the injury was significant. Now, he was able to play, and actually, when he played okay. Here's the thing. Maybe if the surgery has corrected everything and Danny Lewis is 100%, I have him grossly underranked down here at 42 because he might be the starting tight end If he's 100% healthy and ready to go, fifth-year senior, played a lot, mature guy, obviously is working his tail off, to be able to play. But I have him down here at 42 just simply because we just barely saw him last year. And it's hard right now to say he's going to be ahead of guys like Caleb Edwards and a transfer no one talks about that people should be talking about, and that's Josh Ford, who I think is going to play quite a bit. 41 on the roster ranking is an interesting player, again, who could end up being underranked here if he wins a starting spot, and that's Ethan Fields, the transfer from Ole Miss. Probably going to be a guard at Alabama, so he is in the mix. Left guard, right guard, he will be a contender for a starting spot. He'll be contending, for instance, with a guy like Nick Brooks from Texas, who we talked about earlier, contending with Will Sanders, contending with whoever loses out for the starting center battle, and maybe someone like Ty Haywood, if he doesn't win the left tackle job, maybe Haywood slides inside. That's something that could very conceivably happen. So you have lots of contenders. I have Ethan Fields down here at 41. He was a 2 at Ole Miss a year ago. This is a guy who hasn't started a lot of games, but he's been a significant 2 at Ole Miss, and Ole Miss's offensive line was really good last year. It's no crime in not being able to break into that starting line. Doesn't mean he's not good enough to start somewhere else 1 year better like he'll be this year. So he's a contender to start, and he'll be in the mix. Right now I have him at 41, so right now I wouldn't project that he wins a first-team spot, but he might. So check in after the spring. We will, again, have a fall roster ranking which takes into account everything that happened over the spring practice.
Yeah, so I think some people may be a little surprised with Danny Lewis being where he is either way, because I'm with you. If you believe in Danny Lewis, then I think you do have him criminally low. If you feel like, hey, man, sometimes a dude just can't get over the hump, I think you got him criminally high.
It's 100% about the injury to me. I mean, it's 100% about the injury. If he had never been hurt, he was probably the starting tight end last year, along with along with Josh Cuevas. I think you'd have seen Danny Lewis and Josh Cuevas sort of split the position had Danny Lewis never been hurt. But he was hurt, and he was hurt so significantly. And I don't know that we're going to see him at 100%. That's why I have him here. I'm not convinced he's healthy. If you told me right now, Danny Lewis is 100% healthy and ready to go, I'd probably have him maybe even 20 spots higher.
Yeah, I'm with you on that because, again, the potential is certainly there. But he's one of those players that I feel like we always talk with him. It's like the ceiling's high. Well, yeah. It feels like we're stuck on the floor.
Well, he's a block first. One thing, most tight ends aren't freaks and they're equally good at blocking and receiving. The ones that are basically find their way to the NFL. Danny, to me, is a block first guy. But the reason that I'm excited about Danny Lewis is for a block first guy, he's got nice hands. At 100% health, he could be a real weapon, even as a pass receiver, though I consider him a block first guy. He's about 6'5", 255 pounds, bringing a lot of the size that we didn't have last year at tight end, with Cuevas being the every down blocker at tight end. Again, I bring it up all the time. I love Josh. He's done really well at the Senior Bowl. I'm not surprised. I think he's a pro football player. But Josh Cuevas, probably not the guy you go with when you're trying to cure the run game. I mean, Alabama needs a better, bigger blocker at tight end to help fix the run game. Danny Lewis does fit that profile. Now, will he be healthy?
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.